Welcome to Raise Women, the podcast. I'm your host, Tash, and this is a podcast where we are all about raising women up in areas of faith, life, and the marketplace. I am personally very excited for this next episode around carrying culture, and we have a guest, Bianka Williams, and she will be sharing her story, her experiences when it comes to this particular topic. Welcome to our podcast today, Bianka.
Hi Tash, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. It's good to be here and it's good to try something new.
It's just great to have you on here, so thank you so much for joining us. Do you just want to share a little bit about yourself?
My name is Bianka and I am from the Menang Noongar people from down south, and my dad's side of the family is from Perth, Kojonup, and my mum's side of the family are from Noongar way. I grew up there with my mum in Albany and grew up in like a step family, so I had a stepdad and with my younger two siblings, and also stayed in Albany, and I've only just moved up to Perth in the last 8 years. And I'm a single mum of 3 boys, and I'm working and just built a home, and I've got my kids back. It's been a crazy ride, but it's been a good ride. I've got 3 beautiful boys.
Maybe a good place to start would be, I don't understand a lot about your culture. Could you just share a little bit more about your background when it comes to that?
For me, my dad was brought up in Marybank Mission. He got taken away as a young child with his siblings, and I think there's about 7 of them. And they went there and they never got to get reunited back with their mum and dad again. And on my mum's side, growing up in the reserve, they eventually moved to Albany at a younger age. So for me, on my dad's side, it was a lot of disconnect just because of not being able to be with their family. There's a lot of stuff where like he was growing to get to know his family, and he always felt lost. When me and him had a couple of conversations, he's like, I was always searching for that family. A couple of years ago, I got to spend a lot of time with my dad, and he's like, he's at a place where I feel like he's found his family again. On my mum's side, from what my understanding is, all Aboriginal people have a big heart, very giving, very sharing, very open. Like I know from my grandparents, like great-grandparents' generation, they would literally give their shirt off their back to help another person. Always carrying people and lifting them up. Their homes were open to everyone, so it was never, oh, you can't stay here or you can't do that, like it was, everyone was always welcome. You were always welcome to a feed and a place to sleep, and that's everywhere you went. Remember growing up, I used to bring all the kids back to my mum's house, My mum would be looking after 17 kids every night and feeding them up and stuff. It was really nice. I feel like sometimes we were lucky we got little things like in school, because of a lot of us weren't very educated. We got to do homework classes, so they provided a feed, and then we all used to go. There was a few teachers that used to volunteer, so we used to go and sit in the library and having that connection and stuff like that. Also with NAIDOC and that, we got to learn about where we did come from. I know my mum's generation, I think the last mission closed out about 1969. So that's when they got the committees together and they started to get Aboriginal people together, standing up for themselves and being that voice. Where my mum was telling me stories about when she was in the reserve, they were only allowed in town between certain times of the day and they had to be home before sundown. Anyone caught in town after sundown and they'd be locked up in jail. That was just the normal for them back then. The first couple of big massacres were around Albany way. Out of the Albany way, there was only one woman that had survived in one hometown. When you look at the history, like it wasn't exactly the nicest or the greatest history, but we are our old surviving culture. There's a lot of stuff out there that is promoting culture and a lot of places that are trying to save and salvage of what's left.
What is NAIDOC?
NAIDOC is where they celebrate the culture. It's about where they come together and they have a reflect on how far Aboriginal people have come. And it's a chance for Aboriginal people to share, the dancing, the smoking ceremonies, the art, the food.
So now I really understand the significance of this and I then become a participant. So thank you. What does being an Aboriginal woman mean to you and what has your journey been with that?
What it means for me is sometimes it feels like it's a huge responsibility given back to a lot of people. I've helped a lot of people in my family, being able to provide a home, support, showing them that we can step up and we can really just enjoy who we are as people. I think the biggest thing is family connections and also being able to stand up and be someone in the community, you know.
And your mob is?
My mob is Menang Noongar people. My family names are Williams, Woods, Hanson, Farmer. There will be a different mob up this way. So this is around the Wajak people up North Way, and some Perth areas is the Balladong as well. So there's all different tribes in different areas. If you're born around the Perth area, is the Wajak Noongar people. So I think the umbrella is Noongar from like this sort of area, but it's like the Wajak Noongar people, the Balladong. And then over Queensland, they're known as like the Koori mob. They're like Aboriginal, but they got like that Torres Strait and Aboriginal as well. So that's different again. And then there's Murray mob, and I think they're down New South Wales way. So there's all different types from different ways. So up North Way is different again, and they've got heaps of different tribeways up there. And they're pretty lucky because they got to keep most of their culture alive because they were all more up north, so they didn't get colonised as much, and they still lived out in their communities. So they still are very traditional, still have a lot of practices, still hold their law. They're still really strong and rich in theirs.
What is Noongar?
An identity. It is like an umbrella. So a lot of people identify as Noongar. And so when you go down Esperance Way, they're not Noongar, they're actually Nanga. So that's a different sort of dialogue as well. So it comes down to the dialogue of language as well.
And looking at traditions and practices, what are some key traditions or ceremonies that are important in your culture?
The smoking ceremony is quite significant. That's more or less to warn off bad spirits. Dancing's quite significant now. I got to see my older son dancing with his older cousin down in Albany, and it was just really good to see them connecting with culture and giving back. They did like an introduction for when the guys come in for the NAIDOC round, and all got together and did a dance and more or less like bring them in, and it was really nice. So the dancing's coming back. When I was a young girl, my nan's cousin, she told us a traditional story about the wind dancing. So they used to have the girls dress up in the little dresses and stuff, and then they had a story with the wind dancing coming through. Nana Avril Dean, she gave me a story and told me about when her dad used to sing in lingo, and they used to call the dolphins in, and they used to he used to sing to them, and they used to bring all the fish in for him. She said they used to sing in language for that, so that was really nice. She let me do a painting along the storylines, so it was really beautiful to share.
How do you preserve your culture?
It's storytelling. If I don't know something, I'll go to my aunties or my mum or my nan and see what is culturally accepted, I suppose, and just finding out what is good. Or I'll go to my cousins and be like, oh, I'm planning to do this and this and this, and is that okay, and does that fit in with us? And then they're like, oh, no, I don't think that is, or things. So it's always talking about it and gaining your own knowledge and awareness. So I'll ask questions is the biggest thing, and I'll find out what's good for what I'm doing at the time.
What are some common misconceptions people have about Aboriginal culture that you wish people knew more about?
One of the biggest misconceptions is that people think that we get a free car and a free house. I wish that was true. We might be one from the land, but we have to work for what we get to. As far as healthcare and stuff, like we do get that closing the gap stuff, but it's because a lot of Aboriginal people don't like to go to the doctors. So it's an incentive to try and get them to go. There's only 3% of us now. A lot of people are scared to go to the doctors because if they go to the doctors, they think they're going to die. I think it's good that they got the healthcare system. And I think also a lot of people label Aboriginal people. You know, yeah, you do get some angry people. It's like in every culture. They just want equal opportunity just like everybody else.
How can non-Indigenous people respectfully learn and support Aboriginal communities?
I know within work we do the NAIDOC celebration, just ask questions, get to know the food, get to know the people. If there's events that are happening, we get amongst it. There's always groups, like I was saying, there's language groups that you can go to. There's even an Aboriginal choir down in Vic Park where you can learn language through song done by Delaray. And that, I know I went to that for a bit and that was really amazing, just being able to sing in language, a little bit of thing, and her son played the guitar and stuff, and it made you feel really connected. So just being open to the experience, ask a lot of questions and get amongst it.
And what advice would you give to young Aboriginal women navigating cultural identity in our society today?
So for younger women, I'd say be true to yourself, If you want to do something in life, don't let things hold you back. Just give it a go. For us, we're breaking generational curses, It's okay to put you and your kids first and keep on that little aisle. You don't have to look after everyone. That's probably the biggest thing.
Is there anything else you would like to share around carrying culture?
It's been really good to be on this podcast with you, and thank you for inviting me. I think it was good to open my mind to see how much I did carry culture, I've been able to do art therapy with people and show them what I've learned in my art experiences, and it's helping me to reconnect with my own family roots and acknowledge where I've come from and how far I've come, and share with my own children about some of the meanings of birds and plants, and being able to show them little things is they'll be able to pass that on to their generation as well.
Well, I just want to say, Bianka, thank you so much for being a part of Raised Women, the podcast, for sharing your stories, your people's stories, educating me and those who are listening and genuinely wanting a better understanding. So thank you so much for coming and sharing that.
Thank you too.
That brings us to the end of today's episode of Raised Women. I'm your host, Tash, and I want to thank you for joining us today for this deeply personal conversation with Bianka. Her story reminds us that culture isn't something we leave behind, it's something we carry. It shapes who we are, how we see the world, and prepares the way for the next generation. We've got one more episode in our Carrying Culture series before we wrap it all up with another guest, so don't forget to tune in next week. If this episode spoke to you or helped you see things in a new light, I encourage you to share it with someone, especially someone who would benefit from learning more about the rich and complex cultural history of Australia. As you go about your week, I leave you with a few questions to reflect on. What did you learn today that you didn't know before? How might your perspective on Aboriginal history or culture have shifted? What role does your own heritage or upbringing play in your identity? Thank you again for being here. This is Raised Woman, the podcast. Stay blessed, Raised Woman.